I did criticize the president because of our undercutting of what was a stalwart ally, the Shah of Iran. And I am not at all convinced that he was that far out of line with his people, or that they wanted that to happen. The Shah had done our bidding and carried our load in the Middle East for quite some time. And I did think that it was a blot on our record that we let him down. Have things gotten better? The Shah, whatever he might have done, was building low-cost housing, had taken land away from the mullahs and was distributing it to the peasants so they could be landowners, things of that kind. But we turned it over to a maniacal fanatic who has slaughtered thousands and thousands of people, calling it executions. I
think if outside observers look at the Islamic Republic of Iran today and its relationship with the US and Israel, you would assume that these countries have never, ever had any relations. And it's almost unthinkable that, this enmity has only really been going on for the better part of about 45 years. Touching on the recording that you just showed, in the early 20th century, there was very much a love affair between Iran and between the US. There was the Shah and the US had very good relations from probably like the mid to late 50s until the 70s. And there was even one point when Iran became America's strongest ally in the Persian Gulf, and even the single largest purchaser of American weapons. The US saw Iran as a very important partner for energy, and Iran saw in the US a very important partner for Iran's security in the Persian Gulf. And if we talk about where things went wrong, it's important, I think, to note that some Iranians and Western observers will have different starting points as to when the tensions began. For many Iranian observers who are more sympathetic to the regime, they would say that the enmity really began in the early 50s when the Mohammad Mossadegh wanted to nationalize Iran's oil industry and sort of regain control from the British, and the British and the US took exception to that, and then they orchestrated a coup that led to his removal and the restoration of the Shah. And that was when sort of this bitterness towards the West originated, according to some Iranian observers. And then when you speak to Americans, many of them will never have heard of Operation Ajax and the CIA coup. They'll have no idea what you're talking about. They'll think it's a Hollywood movie. But for them, the issues began in the late 70s with the revolution, and also the 444-day hostage crisis. That was very embarrassing for the US, and it really irreparably damaged the relations between Iran and the US, which they saw as the great Satan, and also the little Satan, which was Israel.
When was the last time that Iran had actually a good relationship with Israel?
Yeah. It was in the early to mid 20th century, where Israel and Iran actually collaborated on academia, intelligence sharing, education, industry, infrastructure. Some of Iran's most iconic buildings were actually built in collaboration with Israeli architects. There was a lot of coordination and collaboration going on, which is why when some people spoke about the renewal of the Cyrus Accords, it wasn't that inconceivable and crazy a thought, because it happened fairly recently, in the grand scheme of history.
And for people who don't know, because the Cyrus Accord, a lot of people have heard the term the Abraham Accord, but the Cyrus Accord is because it's not officially recognized. Would you be able to give a little bit of context as to what the Cyrus Accord entails? Yeah.
So it's named. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not terribly familiar with it, but it's named after a very well-known emperor named Cyrus.
That's right.
And he was known for his cordial attitude towards Jewish people, so that's why it's named that. But it's basically the Accords are named based on the idea of the Abraham Accords, where there were these unprecedented rapprochement between Israel and some of its Arab neighbors, and that led outside of the idea of solving the Israeli-Palestinian issue.
Hmm.
And there was an idea that if this could be solved, the Abraham Accords could actually happen, then who knows, maybe a peace between Israel and Iran is not too
Hmm.
inconceivable. And of course, that's never going to happen while the current Islamic Republic of Iran's regime is in power. But maybe in a not too distant future, there could be a moment where you'll see flights between a resumption of flights between Tel Aviv and Tehran. Who knows?
Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be
That would be
a
quite
dream come true?
quite incredible.
That would be incredible. But the role of Iran is so crucial in this war that's been happening.
Your bad son.